So the doctor and the nurse came out, and they said, Miss Taylor, you need to go to this room. And my son said, if you go in that room, I need to hold your hand.
I couldn't see or hear anything. I don't know how long I sat in this room. But it was the most cold, unwelcoming room I've ever been in my life.
The room is a reflection of how void of what people know. The only people that know how this message is delivered are the people who deliver it and the people who receive it. What we thought that we needed to say is, here's the reality of our lives that we do, 40,000 times a year in the United States, at least. It's a horrible place to be to give the news after you've worked on a child for half an hour, that doesn't survive a gunshot. And you're giving the news to a parent who's leaving the hospital without a child. And you're never going to see that person again.
The paradigm as it's designed right now is that we're doctors and we treat the injuries that are caused to the physical body by the bullet, but there's so much more. There's a very specific sound that a mother makes when you tell her her child is dead, and that sound sticks with you forever.
I keep myself busy and fighting because of my son, Daniel Taylor. Daniel was a go-getter. He was a funny, outspoken person. He went to Mass Bay Community College. He got his degree in criminal justice, and then he also said that's not what he wanted to be. So after that, he also pursued his career in being an electrician, and he got his degree in electrician and also got a job being an electrician.
What I want people to know about Louis and what I remember about him is he's every parent's child. He really didn't like to do hard work. He ate me out of house and home.
Marquise is beautiful. He's like his mom. He's humbling. He's happy-go-lucky, always smiling. Like even in the photo that the police took, them big, beautiful teeth. He's dark-skinned, so whenever he smiles, all you saw. He'll give you the coat off his back, dial out his pocket. He was always giving, always caring. If he saw you on the side of the road with a flat tire, he would stop.
Danny was all about family. He had a heart like mine, but a temper like his father. A lot of people were scared of Danny, but he was loyal to the end. And he has a dry sense of humor. He was always, he just did the silliest stuff, and he loved to draw, loved family. And his daughter, his only daughter, Denasia, was born, I just had a promising future.
My son loved kids. He didn't get a chance to have any children. He did all kinds of stuff for the kids in the neighborhood. He loved basketball, he loved music, and he loved food. When he got out of jail, he went to Bunker Hill to apply to become do culinary arts, become a chef. Didn't get far because of the situation.
At the same time, Louis also had huge dreams. He wanted to be the first Black president of the United States. He didn't just have dreams, he wrote that down in a project when he was in the 8th grade at the King's School. And Louis also was concerned about the ongoing violence and how they portrayed young Black teenagers when violence happened.
The culture of violence in my neighborhood and in my community that I grew up in was, in a way, a form of currency, right? Where it gave you purchasing right to respect, power, authority.
Men and boys from my community that I've watched grow up, they wanted to be doctors, they wanted to be basketball players, they wanted to be all kind of things, but because of the environment, you know, they just went a different path.
You go from not worrying about the little things to caring about the bigger issues. You know, it's not whether or not I'm coming home with bad grades, but whether or not I'm making it home.
Everywhere he went, he was driven because we were concerned about the violence that was happening. And so Lewis never walked anywhere. So the day he walked was the day he was killed.
Prior to his death, we went on a cruise, a 7-day cruise, and I begged him to go to the captain's ball with me, and we went, and that's the picture. I begged him to go to the captain's ball and put on a shirt and tie, and this only ended up being his obituary picture, because this was the last shirt and tie he was in. But I believe in fate. I believe in God. Like, God knew his destiny. Because I always say, you know, he was my child. He wasn't no saint, but that was my child.
The day I was notified about my son's death was on a Tuesday. I actually was at work. I got a phone call stating that something happened to Bo, which is my son, for me to go to Boston Medical Center.
So we shot to the hospital, and some of the people that were at the hospital, we're at the scene, came to the hospital and said, hey, that didn't happen like that. You know, a nurse tried to approach Colin and said that, you know, a couple more minutes he would have been resuscitated, Bo. And that was a lie, because Bo had died at the scene.
I had to, number one, be told that my son's life was taken. I had to go to the morgue, not one morgue, but 2 morgues to view my son's body. It was packed with people, everybody trying to find out who's their loved one. And I remember going in and they said to me, you know, which one is yours? How do you ask a mother who was just told her son is dead and all you can say, which one is mine?
So he showed us a picture to identify to make sure it was my son. And I said, yes, that's my son, but could I have a picture, a copy of that picture? He said, no, you can't. I'm like, I can't have a copy of this picture? He said, no, nobody gets a copy of a picture of this child or loved one in the morgue. That's their records.
I mean, you're not just dealing with the loss of your child, you're dealing with how people treat you. Like when my son's life was taken, they tried to say he was a gangbanger, he was this, he was that.
There were no resources whatsoever for me or my family to navigate this journey. I was not offered a victim advocate. I wasn't offered any funds to bury my child. It was more so, I felt like I was a criminal the way they were treating me.
So my daughter works in the medical field, so she got arrangement for me to go see my child. But the only way I could see my child was I had to be handcuffed to see him. So Becca came back and she said, Mom, the only way you can see Daniel, you have to be handcuffed. I said, okay, gotta see my baby. Didn't matter.
At that time, we left because there was nothing that we could do. We just left, and I left empty-handed physically and within my soul. I didn't know what else to do.
How do you deal with something like that, right? People don't understand internally the things that we go through. You know, we have to go to the morgue, then we have to go home. You know, there's so many detachments that come with that when you lose a loved one like that, right?
They talk about them in so many different ways, no matter what the circumstances is, you know. They no longer do this, you know, because of mothers like me and other mothers, but they used to put your son or your loved one that was murdered's criminal records in the paper, or describe them in a certain way.
So we're not just dealing with the loss of our kid, we're dealing with people judgment and saying things and just being negative and evil. And like, it's like we're the victims, but we're getting treated like we the perpetrators.
You are denied victim assistance because your son contributed to his death, his murder. And I wrote them back and I said, well, I don't know where you got your information from, because according to the police report, my son was killed in a routine traffic stop.
And I knew my child's life mattered, you know, but I was still suffering in silence based on society, based on how I felt like he was still being re-victimized in death.
There was no, I'm sorry for your loss. There was no, she got other kids, let me help make sure they get something to eat tonight, because I know today was a stressful day. There was no checking in on my kids to see if they had any mental health services. There was none of that, until I went to Legacy Lives On and the Peace Institute.
I don't even know how it happened, but we got introduced to a support group. Legacy Lives On, and we got into that support group, and everybody started talking about their hurt and their pain and how someone was lost in their family, so we could identify.
But in the aftermath, as we know, as our loved ones are buried, everybody's gone. You know, all the support is gone, the lights off, you know, everything is back on you by yourself individually. I started this organization, Legacy Live On, for support in the aftermath.
And we would meet there and we would talk about our highs and our lows. When I first got there, I couldn't talk about anything. I literally was on my knees in tears, crossing over the threshold, asking for somebody to help heal my heart.
We all have what's within us, the innate ability. We all have what it is that we need to heal internally. We just need a safe and neutral space for that to happen without judgment. And that's what Santre Wordplay did for me. This modality is something that has helped me when I've had no words to say, what am I feeling? How am I feeling? What is going on? It was culturally and spiritually relevant to me. Talking to a therapist didn't work for me because they didn't look like me. So it's made up of everything that's in the world, everything that's possible, everything that could be in the world. People will donate. People will donate images or miniatures. We don't call them toys. That's one thing I've learned. We don't call them toys, they're miniatures. We broke them down in different categories: death and grieving, peace and war, religious, spirituality, superheroes, supervillains, dwellings, houses, fences, bridges, transportation. Again, everything that is in the world. And it's not about having a perfect world. And so when people come in, a lot of times, it's not always about talking. You can feel when something is on somebody's heart, when something is heavy. And the invitation is, see what's calling you. Put it in the sand and leave it there.
Although this is not a club you want to be a part of, you meet amazing, amazing, supportive, loving, always got your back. It's a majority of women, but there are some fathers there. You learn so much. And it's all, your healing is all in what tools you gravitate to, what tools you pick up, what tools you use.
And what you need in order to build strength or build anything that you want, you need tools. You need a box to carry you. All your things around. Your hammers, your wrenches, you know, your courage, you know, your hope, your dreams.
I started to get better. I started to like Danny was walking with me. Like I didn't even know where I was getting the strength. I was saying things and I was doing all these presentations in the city and not knowing, but I know it was him walking with me. I know he gave me the strength.
People see us in like, for someone who just had a loss and they come into legacy and they see us and they be like, wow, like y'all lost kids. We have moms who lost 2 children, you know. But if they didn't tell you, you would never know.
I want courage so I can be able to say things about my child without breaking down, and have courage to fight for him, that the cause of not fighting for myself. I just need courage for that.
Like, I'm gonna tell you my story before someone else tries to tell it. Does that make sense? And when you tell it, you heal, right? When you tell it and it's authentic and it's truth, you heal.
So the transformation is, how do we look at people as human beings? And how do we make sure the resources are there so that they don't have to pick up that gun?
You know, the sad thing about it, I had compassion for the young man who took my son's life. As they would say, the person of interest. And I believe in second chances. You know, unfortunately, you know, this young man has killed again and again. And at some point, I just believe you need to sit still.
In the end, it's peace. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days out of the year. It's not saying problem is not there. I don't need to feed the problem because it's being fed. I need to feed the peace, the healing. That's what needs to be fed. So there's this story about a grandson talking to his grandfather, talking about he's so angry, and so the grandfather says, well, there are 2 wolves inside of us. There's good and evil, and they're both fighting inside of you, you know. And then the grandson says, well, grandfather, which wolf will win? The one you feed.
Peace. I heard a rapper say that I don't want no problems. I actually think they're right, cause I don't like the drama. Some will call it an oasis, others say nirvana. Either way, my soul is heavy and I'm trying to find it. Yeah. Cause nobody wanna be civil, but it seems like civil war could happen any minute. People in desperation when they get pushed to the limit. Jesus said he bring peace, but the peace he talking is different. Yeah. Cause we all looking for peace and quiet. But some of us confuse peace with quiet. Just because things are quiet doesn't mean no conflict. Things may have to get louder if we're being honest. And that's where many are afraid to go. Real peace is where the truth can come and make a home. In order to do right, you gotta face the wrong. So instead of saying peace, I'ma say shalom. Yeah, shalom is probably better. Shalom is everything working exactly how God intended. Is pointing out all the evil and bleeding what's been oppressive. Recovering what was lost and then bringing it to potential. Yeah, see, God created this life to flourish. So if you gon' fight, make sure you fight with purpose. You gon' find what you need if your life is searching. But best believe you gon' have to learn to fly with turbulence. See, Jesus said he would bring shalom, taking everything that's broken and make it whole. That's spiritual, physical, and relational. What a beauty to behold, we are fully known. Yeah. So go and be a peacemaker, but it'll cost us something, this isn't cheap labor. Starting petty arguments, nah, I'll see you later. Ain't no time for that, we gotta prepare to meet the maker. Yeah. Until then, I'm praying for peace. It's my prayer for the church and the same for the streets. Not too long ago, I was living dangerously, but my God specializes in taming the beast. So close your eyes and view the blessing of when this broken world gets glued to heaven. No more studying war, there's a new obsession, and every useless weapon gets used.